Next platinum on the list is Split Fiction, a two-player co-op action adventure where you control Mayo and Zoe, two writers who find themselves trapped inside their own stories after getting hooked up to a machine built to steal their ideas. They're forced to navigate wild sci-fi and fantasy worlds to reclaim their memories, all while battling against the shady Raider Publishing. This one's strictly co-op, you can't play it solo, so a partner is needed if you're planning to go for the platinum. According to the guide on PSN Profiles, Split Fiction is around a 3 out of 10 for difficulty, requires one playthrough and should take about 15 hours to finish. Let's get started. Starting things off, you each choose a character. I went with Zoe. The game gives you a bit of background right away. Both Zoe and Mayo are struggling writers trying to get their stories published, and that's where Raider Publishing comes in. They offer to help, promising money and exposure, but obviously there's more going on behind the scenes. What we don't know at the start is that Raider is using the shady machine to literally extract the story ideas straight from the writer's brains. Just as Mayo is about to get into her pod, she freaks out and accidentally ends up in Zoe's pod instead. That moment causes both of their stories to merge, and that's where we really kick things off. Before really getting into the story, I had a look at what's actually needed for the platinum. Straight away I was relieved. No difficulty related trophies or anything stressful like that. The main thing is just finishing the game. There are these 12 side missions sprinkled throughout the story, and I tried to knock them out as I went. They're easy to miss if you're not paying attention, but they break up the main story pretty nicely. There's also some random stuff to keep in mind, like one trophy where you have to sit on 6 different benches. That is literally it. You just sit on 6 different benches. Then there are a few objective based ones that just kind of happen naturally, but a couple did catch me off guard, so I ended up having to replay a couple sections. Jumping into Chapter 1, things kick off pretty simple. There are 8 chapters in total, each tied to either Mayo or Zoe's imagination, except for this one and the finale. You're not thrown into anything too wild right away. This chapter is all about easing you in. Right from the start, it's clear something's off. The machine at Raider Publishing definitely wasn't meant to have 2 people inside at once. Mayo and Zoe end up meeting in Zoe's fantasy world, which starts glitching out. You spend most of this chapter flipping between sci-fi and fantasy settings, just trying to figure out what's going on. It's basically a tutorial. No trophies to worry about here. After wrapping up the intro, we dive straight into Chapter 2, Neon Revenge. This one seriously steps things up. There are 6 trophies up for grab here, including 3 side stories and 1 bench to find. So it's the first real chapter where the platinum journey starts to pick up. In this story, both Mayo and Zoe get upgraded into straight up cyber ninjas. Mayo wields a katana that lets her defy gravity, while Zoe's rocking a gravity whip that lets her fling up objects around and interact with the environment. It's here the co-op mechanics really start to shine. You're constantly relying on each other, solving puzzles, platforming, pulling off synchronized moves, all while chasing down the glitch that's still messing with the simulation. Story also starts to unravel a bit more, hinting the Raider Publishing definitely has something shady going on with this whole brain machine setup. This chapter was a blast, fast paced, fun powers, and the trophies actually feel like they fit naturally into the flow of things. After pushing a bit further into Chapter 2 and really getting a feel for how this game plays, we finally unlock our first trophy, Are We the Baddies? This one actually made me laugh. It's the first proper co-op puzzle moment that tests your timing and teamwork. Basically, Mayo has to hit a ball and launch it up towards Zoe. Zoe then needs to catch it midair with her gravity whip and fling it into a group of unsuspecting civilians walking across a glass bridge above, smashing the glass in the process. Following the path of destruction, and me being Zoe, I couldn't help but mess with an unsuspecting elephant statue I came across. Instead of walking past like a normal person, I used the gravity whip to yank its leg and then its ear. Not sure what I expected, but sure enough, the Rose's best friend trophy popped. We progressed a little further and stumbled into the first of the 3 side stories in Chapter 2, Farm Life. The story throws us into a bizarre farm setting where Mayo and Zoe are turned into actual pigs. From there, we're giving a few puzzles to solve. One involved feeding apples to sentient doors, and another had us turning into pork sausages and navigating a grill to become literal hot dogs. During this madness, I picked up 2 trophies. Going whole hog for farting on a sleeping pig, huffing and puffing for farting my way through a brick house like some twisted fairy tale. Moving back into the main chapter, we stumbled across our first bench. The trophy Sisters, A Tale of Two Besties requires you to sit on all 6 benches scattered throughout the game. This was bench 1, and just like the name suggests, Mayo and Zoe take a moment to sit, reflect and chat.
Dark. When does the sun come up? Never.
Fast forwarding a bit, we find ourselves deep into side story 2, Mountain Hike. This one is inspired by Zoe's childhood memories of hiking with her family. Though in true split fiction style, it's far from your average hike. Zoe's creative twist adds giants into the mix, because why not make the mountains literally massive? Gameplay wise, the side story is more chill compared to the chaos of the main chapter. It's mostly about swinging around cliffs, timing your jumps, and using the giants to help you navigate across tricky platforms. A welcome breather, still weird, still creative, but definitely more on the mellow side of things. Moving on, we head deeper into the bizarre cyberpunk hotel setting, and I spot a robot chilling behind the reception desk, totally unsuspecting. Naturally, being Zoe, I do what anyone would do in this situation and hit it with my whip. Boom, robot revolution, trophy unlocked. Now for the final trophy in this chaotic chapter. You are not a robot. This one, it's one of those sounds easy on paper, hell in execution trophies. One player has to navigate a speeding bike, dodging everything thrown your way, while the other is basically playing Bomb Squad Simulator 3000. Swiping, tapping, solving mini tasks on a fake smartphone to just defuse a bomb. You've got 1 minute, zero margin for error, and a whole lot of stress. Now I'd love to sit here and tell you we smashed it first try, but yeah, no, it took us like 5 or 6 attempts, and each failure just made it more frustrating. Miss one swipe, game over. Hit an obstacle, try again. You basically have to do it flawlessly, which is the exact opposite of how we were playing that night. But after some serious concentration, a few arguments, and probably a dent in our friendship, boom, trophy popped. This one definitely earned its place in the controller gripping tighter than it should be Hall of Fame. Now that the bullshit of chapter 2 is finally behind us, we dive straight into chapter 3, Hopes of Spring. This chapter drops us into Zoe's fantasy-inspired worlds, and right away it feels completely different from the neon madness before. The whole vibe is way more magical. For this one, both characters get new shape-shifting abilities. Maya becomes the massive white ape, very Planet the Apes meets Zen Garden, and can also turn into a fish to swim through underwater sections. Zoe gets to live out her woodland dreams by becoming a fairy that can fly short distances, and later a giant talking tree that uses nature magic to manipulate plants and help navigate the environment. The chapter focuses more on exploration and puzzle solving than the high-stress action of Neon Revenge. It's got some more creative design we've seen so far, and the switching between forms keeps things fresh. 1 second you're gliding over a forest as a fairy, and the next you're punching through obstacles as an oversized ape. Total tone shift, and honestly a nice one. Chapter 3 may be all magical on the surface, but don't let the cozy forest vibes fool you. This chapter has 3 trophies, 3 side stories, and 1 sneaky little bench, and it absolutely tried to break us. Now I'll be honest with you, we skipped 2 of the side stories this time. Why? Simple, no trophies, no thanks. We're here for platinums, not filler quests, but there was 1 side story I couldn't ignore. Side story 2, Game Show. Now this was a highlight, but not in the way you'd want. It's meant to be a fun break in the action, but what it really became was a full-on argument starter. You and your co-op partner get thrown into a chaotic trivia challenge game show hybrid, and everything is timed, stressful, and completely out of sync. It's the kind of side story that makes you question the friendship that you got into this platinum journey in the first place. Mics are muted, controllers were nearly thrown, but somehow we got through it. And just like that, chapter 3 started to show us its true colours. Beautiful, yes, but low-key out to ruin our day. This side story isn't just stressful, it's downright chaotic. The trophy here is called Cold Potato, and it's tied to do what I can only describe as the most intense friendship testing game of hot potato you'll ever play. The setup, a wild game show style challenge where you and your co-op partner have to pass a ticking bomb back and forth across 7 brutal levels, each more unforgiving than the last. The bomb's on a timer, and if you don't throw it fast enough, boom, restart. But here's the catch, throwing the bomb resets the timer, so constant communication is key. 1 second of hesitation, it's over. Lag, it's over. Your friend misses a catch, say goodbye. We spent more time shouting throw it than actually playing, and by level 5 it felt less like a game and more like an emotional endurance test. Eventually, after too many failed runs to count, we somehow pulled off the perfect sequence and Cold Potato pop, a small moment of glory and a side story that nearly broke us. After surviving the emotional trauma that was the game show side story and sacrificing 1 perfectly good controller to the rage gods, we finally caught a break. We stumbled across 3 snowballs which looked like they wanted to be thrown off the ledge, which popped us the trophy, 1 bird, 3 stones. Progressing slightly further up the pathway, we stumbled across bench 2. This was a much needed moment of peace, just Mayo and Zoe sitting quietly, reflecting on the chaos we'd just been through, and maybe also me reconsidering all my life choices up to that point. And with that, the final peaceful moment on the bench, Chapter 3, Hopes of Spring, was officially behind us. We went from shape-shifting chaos to friendship-ruining game shows and somehow came out mostly intact. At this point, it was clear Split Fiction wasn't just testing our puzzle solving, it was testing our patience, our reflexes, and definitely our friendship. With Chapter 4, Final Dawn, upon us, we were expecting the usual chaos, and it definitely delivered. This chapter comes with 3 trophies, 3 side stories, and 1 bench. But let's skip straight to the most important bit. Side Story 2, Moon Market. This level was Zoe's creation, a wild, colourful and completely unhinged, intergalactic bazaar packed with magical items, weird creatures and cats. Lots of cats. The entire story revolves around completing little mini games and catching rogue cats across the market to make progress. Simple, not really. Entertaining, absolutely. During this side story we popped 2 of the most random trophies in the game. Share the load. This one had us to find a wand somewhere in the market, zap the other player, turn them into a chair and then sit on them. Why? Who knows, but it's a trophy, so we'll take it. Trophy number 2 was Potion Chef. This one was even more chaotic. At the potion stand, there's a big cauldron and a bunch of ingredients. You have to mix and drink all the potions which temporarily turn you into all sorts of weird forms. It's a fever dream, but at the end of it, boom, another trophy unlocked. This side story might have looked innocent, but it ended up being the highlight of the chapter in terms of progress towards the platinum, and definitely one of the weirder experiences in the game. After wrapping up the madness of Moon Market, we dropped straight back into Chapter 4 Final Dawn, right into a mission called Run and Gun. This section throws a curveball at us. The game suddenly shifts into a 2D side-scrolling platformer, which honestly came out of nowhere but was a refreshing change of pace. In Run and Gun, you and your partner need to stay perfectly in sync as you navigate a series of platforming obstacles, dodging hazards, timing jumps and coordinating movements. About halfway through, the game introduces purple teleportation portals, adding another layer of complexity to an already tricky sequence. But of course, we weren't just here to survive the level, we were hunting for a hidden trophy. The cake is not a lie, a subtle nod to a portal. This one requires you to find a secret area tucked away behind one of these teleport puzzles. Miss it and you have to replay the entire mission. Luckily, we were paying attention. After poking around, we discover the hidden room, and with it, the elusive slice of cake and the trophy popped. A fun little Easter egg moment and a satisfying reward for being curious in one of the more creative parts of the game. Halfway through the story and halfway through the benches, we stumble across bench 3. By this point, the narrative's getting weirder, the puzzle's more complex, and our patience wearing thin. So finding this bench was like finding a little pocket of peace in the madness. We took a moment to sit, reflect, and of course tick off another trophy requirement for Sisters, A Tale of Two Besties. Only 3 more to go, the bench grind continues. With our brief moment of peace on bench 3 behind us and Chapter 4 in the rearview mirror, we dive straight into Chapter 5. Rise of the Dragon Realm. And yes, it's just as dramatic as it sounds. This chapter leans heavily into Zoe's wild fantasy side. Right off the bat, both characters are handed dragon eggs, adorable little companions that slowly grow into fully fledged, fire-breathing or acid-spewing beasts. The world itself is a vibrant mashup of floating islands, mystical temples and ancient ruins. Far cry from the sci-fi chaos we've seen so far, but don't let the whimsical theme fool you. There's still plenty of teamwork, chaos and controller-snapping puzzles to work through. Chapter 5 includes 3 side stories, 2 trophies and 1 bench. The dragons evolve alongside us, unlocking new traversal mechanics. Mayo gets acid breath and long range gliding, while Zoe's dragon turns into a deadly little wrecking ball that can climb ivy walls like Spider-Man on caffeine. This chapter not only brings new gameplay twists, but also ramps up the emotional beats of the story. You start to feel attached to these dragons just in time for the game to probably break your heart later. Our first trophy in Chapter 5 is a wholesome one, a refreshing break from the chaos we've endured so far. Early on in the level, you'll come across a bush filled with glowing berries. All you need to do is pick one and feed it to your baby dragon. That's it. Simple, cute and oddly emotional. Doing this pops the trophy, Feed Me, which feels like the game's way of rewarding you for being a decent dragon parent for once. After all the destruction, glitchy chaos and yelling at each other over puzzle mechanics, a quiet bonding moment with your dragon. Shortly after feeding our little dragon buddy, we stumble across bench 4. Naturally, we take a moment to sit down, unwind and reflect on the journey so far.
Sure. But why? Well,
We fast forward through the rest of Chapter 5 and knock out the remaining side stories, wrapping up the last bits of the optional chaos the game throws our way, and with the final side story complete, we finally unlock the trophy Bookworms, which is awarded for completing all 12 side stories in the game. On to Chapter 6, Isolation. This level dives deep into the darker, more personal side of the story, as Mayo and Zoe are thrown into the simulation that reflects Mayo's subconsciousness. It's one of the more atmospheric and emotionally driven chapters, with the environments and mechanics shifting to match the tone. Here you get 1 bench and 4 trophies to aim for. The unique mechanic introduced in this chapter revolves around each character getting their own special ball. Mayo's is made up of a swarm of tiny robot spiders that can morph and reshape themselves into different tools, while Zoe's ball functions more like a magnet gadget that latch onto metal surfaces. One of the highlights of this chapter is the pinball style sequence where Zoe controls the ball while Mayo manipulates the course, a real test of coordination and timing. It's definitely one of the more creative and memorable gameplay sections in Split Fiction, even if it gets a little frustrating at times. With the emotional weight of the story building and some tight puzzles ahead, Chapter 6 really signals that we're in the final stretch of this platinum journey. The next trophy on this journey is we're going to need a bigger boat. This one's a cheeky little nod towards Jaws, and honestly it caught me off guard. While navigating the eerie waters on Mayo's boat during one of the slow-paced, more reflective sections of Chapter 6, if you veer slightly off the main path and explore a bit, you'll eventually trigger an encounter with a shark. It's not a jump scare or anything crazy, just a fun Easter egg style moment that pops the trophy when you find it. A little while after our shark encounter, we unlock Trophy 16, Snake. This one gave me a good laugh. It's a clear homage to Metal Gear Solid, and to unlock it, one player needs to find and hide inside a cardboard box, then the other player has to shoot the box off of them. That's it. Simple, silly, and completely random, but it perfectly fits the weird humour this game loves to throw at you unexpectedly. Now on to Bench 5. The penultimate one in our journey. We found this one tucked away after one of the more intense co-op platforming sections. At this point in the game, with the story getting deeper and the puzzles getting more demanding, it was a perfect breather. Now for the final 2 miscellaneous trophies in Chapter 6. Tased and Confused, and Locked Up. With only 2 trophies left on this journey, we roll into Chapter 7, and it's all about wrapping up the collectibles, specifically the final bench. And just like that, we hit the final chapter of Split Fiction. Chapter 8 isn't just an ending, it's a complete breakdown of everything we've seen so far. The rules, gone. The logic, out the window. What starts as 2 separate storylines quickly melts into one surreal, chaotic, genre-mashing nightmare as Raider takes full control of the simulation. Mayo and Zoe are flung through a psychedelic gauntlet of collapsing environments, bending realities, and warped physics, all while trying to hold on to their memories, their friendship, and their sanity. It's like everything the game taught us was thrown into a blender, and Raider's the one hitting the puree. It's wild, unpredictable, and honestly kind of brilliant, but through all the madness, teamwork prevails. We confronted Raider, we broke the simulation, we escaped, and then boom, the final trophy pop. 2 BFFs for completing the story, and the platinum trophy for surviving the chaos and seeing the journey through. Another platinum down, another wild ride complete. Split Fiction done and dusted. As for my thoughts on the Split Fiction Platinum, I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. I genuinely enjoyed the journey, the co-op mechanics, the weird and wonderful side stories, the creative environments. It was all super unique and refreshing, but I won't lie, it does get tedious, especially if you're like me and trying to knock everything out in one single playthrough. Some trophies are easy to miss, and there's not much room for error if you're trying to avoid replays. Still, it was a fun and memorable experience, and I definitely recommend giving this one a shot. Just make sure you've got a good friend by your side, because this game really shines when you're working as a duo.